Do you know who the dumbest character in One Piece is? What about who's the tallest, the oldest, or what about the most beautiful? Well, that's what you'll find out in today's video, as I'll go over every single record holder in One Piece. So let's just start with the record holder for the absolute dumbest character in the entire series. And no, it's actually not Luffy. I know, Luffy's eaten a poisonous fish that almost killed him, fell for Crocodile's super obvious trap which trapped the whole crew in a sea stone cage, and yeah, let's not forget that he asked a literal zombie tree and zombie unicorn to join the crew. Still, there's someone out there who actually makes Luffy look like a genius, and that guy is Gedatsu. Don't remember him? Well, if you didn't skip Skypiea, you would. Anyway, Gedatsu was one of Enel's priests, and although he's strong, he's also unbelievably dumb. Like, he rolls his eyes so far back he can't see anything. He tries to talk with his lower lip stuck in his mouth, he literally forgets to breathe, and when he tries to explain stuff, he forgets to actually talk and instead just thinks about it. He also accidentally attacks his own allies, walks into houses through windows, shoves food in his ears, stands facing the wrong direction during conversations, and he can't even cross his arms properly. So, yeah, compared to Gedatsu, Luffy is literally a rocket scientist. So Gedatsu is the dumbest, but who is the smartest? Yeah, you all already know this, it's of course Vegapunk. Vegapunk is a certified genius and known as the world's smartest man. And thanks to his Nomi Nomi no Mi, he can store unlimited knowledge in his brain and recall everything with perfect memory. His intelligence is so far ahead, people say he's 500 years into the future, and he's literally invented everything, from the Seraphims, the Pacifistas, holograms, to the Mother Flame, that insane energy source Imu used to wipe Lulusia off the map. And don't forget Punk Records, which literally stores Vegapunk's brain and acts as a library, which each of his 6 satellites can plug into to share the same brain. And yeah, Vegapunk also literally looks like Einstein, so it should be obvious that he's a genius. Alright, enough about brains, let's instead talk about looks, and specifically, the most beautiful woman in the series. And again, you already know who it is, Boa Hancock. It's not just us fans that think she's beautiful, she's literally known as the most beautiful woman in the entire world. And the fact that she has the Love fruit is perfect for her, as it lets her turn anyone who's attracted to her into stone statues. And since everyone is attracted to her, well, almost everyone, she can literally turn 99.99% of the world into stone. So we know who the most beautiful woman is, but what about the most beautiful man? Now, I could actually argue that it's Luffy. Just hear me out. As Hancock is the most beautiful woman in the series, then the man she sees as the most beautiful must technically be the one, right? And in her eyes, that's Luffy, as she's head over heels in love and obsessed with him. So much so in fact that she's literally got a giant Luffy poster on the Kuja Castle wall. But yeah, sorry Hancock, Luffy is not the most beautiful man. Some might say it's Zoro, others might say Shanks, but no. The real record holder of the most beautiful man has to go to Cavendish. I mean, this man is so gorgeous that people literally faint just from looking at him. He's got bright blue eyes, long flowing blonde hair, and that lean, tall, model-like figure, being over 2 meters or almost 6.6 feet tall. He's elegant, flashy, and even his horse is fabulous. So yeah, the most beautiful man in One Piece is Cavendish, no question. Talking about height, let's talk about who the tallest human in the series is, and that record goes to none other than Big Mom. Yep, Big Mom stands at a whopping 8.8 meters tall, or if you're using freedom units, that's about 29 feet. And no, she's actually not a giant. Despite her massive size, Big Mom is actually just an absurdly huge human. I'm serious, like, have you seen her parents? They're just normal-sized people. Like, they must have been so confused how this even happened. And when you really think about how huge she is, remember when Law and Kid faced off against Big Mom? This is the height difference. Crazy, right? Alright, so we talked about the tallest human, but now it's time to talk about the tallest character in general, and that title easily goes to Zunisha. Zunisha is a giant elephant who's a mind-blowing 5,000 meters tall, or again, in freedom units, that's around 16,000 feet. And if you've ever wondered, how is this elephant literally just walking around in the middle of the ocean? Well, here's your answer. Yeah, Zunisha is a Naitami Norita elephant, a species with ridiculously long legs that literally stretch all the way down to the ocean floor. So yeah, Zunisha is just casually walking across the sea like it's nothing. Moving on from tallest characters to the shortest characters, and I'm talking adult humans here, not literal newborns. So the record for the shortest adult goes to Buckingham Stussy. She's just 68 centimeters tall, that's 2.3 feet. So yeah, she's tiny. But the thing is, she wasn't always this short. You know the stunning blonde-haired Stussy from Egghead Island? Yeah, that's actually a clone modeled after Miss Buckingham Stussy in her prime when she was a member of the Rocks Pirates. So back in the day, this is what she looked like. Talk about a tragic glow down, right? Let's all just pray Nami, Robin, and Hancock don't end up like this. But now, who's the shortest character in general? Is it Makino's baby? Nope, it's Princess Manchery. She's only 20 centimeters tall, that's under 8 inches, so she's absolutely tiny. But Manchery's that small because she's a dwarf from the Tontada Kingdom. Still, don't let her size fool you because like all dwarves, she's insanely fast and way stronger than you'd expect. Plus, she's not just any dwarf, she's the princess, which means she basically commands the entire Tontada army, second only to her dad, the Dwarf King. Moving on, let's talk about who holds the record of luckiest character in the series. And a lot of people might say it's Usopp or maybe Buggy, since he literally became an emperor thanks to pure chaos and dumb luck. But no, the luckiest guy in the series, that's Luffy. If you don't believe me, let me show you some examples of his insane luck. First, he survived eating a poisonous fish because, randomly, Sanji's sister Reiju just happened to be nearby and just happened to have the exact power needed to suck the poison out of his body. Then Luffy had the only ability on the planet that could counter Enel's god-tier lightning. Rubber. And remember when Buggy was about to execute him in Log Town? Yeah, his father finally decided to show up out of nowhere with lightning casually striking Luffy's platform, saving his life. Let's also not forget Impel Down, where Magellan should have killed him with his poison, but somehow Bon Clay just happened to drag him to the one person who could save him, Emporio Ivankov. I could honestly go on forever, but do you see now why Luffy is the luckiest guy ever? I mean, I know he trained hard and all to get where he is, but let's be real, without absurd levels of luck, he never would have made it this far. Alright, enough about luck. Instead, who is the unluckiest in the series? Well, it's obviously Don Krieg. I mean, this guy rolled up to the Grand Line with literally 50 ships, but the moment he enters, he runs into Mihawk, who instantly decimates his entire fleet. And Krieg himself barely escapes with his life and gets back to the East Blue. But here, he immediately runs into the Marines, and he only escapes thanks to Gin luring them away. But then, starving and desperate, they finally make it to the Baratie thanks to Gin betraying Sanji and wants to take over the floating restaurant. But this time, it's Luffy, the future king of the pirates, who stands in his way. And if that wasn't enough, Mihawk shows up again out of nowhere and slices up Krieg's last remaining ship. And by the time Luffy's done with him, Krieg's precious armor is shattered, his weapons are trashed, and even Gin, his most loyal guy, has had enough of him. So yeah, Krieg is literally cursed. Now, let's literally pick up the pace and talk about who the fastest character is. Some people might say it's Sanji, as we've seen him blitz enemies in the blink of an eye. Others might argue it's Enel, since with his Devil Fruit, he is as fast as lightning. And yeah, they're both fast, but they're not as fast as Kizaru. Like, this guy literally moves at the speed of light thanks to his Glint Glint Fruit. Just ask X-Drake, who didn't even have the time to react before he ate a light-speed kick to the face. We've also even seen Kizaru zip across entire islands and return in mere seconds. Now, you might be wondering, if he's that fast, why doesn't he just win every fight instantly? Well, sorry to disappoint you, but that's just Oda keeping Kizaru beatable. Instead of the fastest, let's talk about the slowest. And this one was tricky, but I had to give this record to none other than Mr. Blockhead. Remember when Foxy used his slow beam to slow down a cannonball in midair? Yeah, that cannonball was moving in super slow motion, so literally anyone could have dodged it. But not Mr. Blockhead. This man instead just stood there until it exploded and blew him up. I know, that technically doesn't mean he's the slowest overall, but come on. If you're too slow to react to a cannonball moving in slow motion, you've earned the record as the slowest. Anyway, let's move on to the character who is hands down the most evil of them all. And honestly, we've got some very twisted and evil characters, like Caesar Clown, who kidnapped kids, drugged them, experimented on them, and then literally planned to kill them when they were no longer useful. Yeah, that's the definition of evil. However, Caesar is actually not the most evil. Instead, let's talk about the Celestial Dragons and Saint Charlos. And these guys treat everyone but themselves like trash, literally turning anyone into their personal slaves, chaining them up, torturing them, and shooting random civilians just for looking at them the wrong way. But not even they are the most evil in the series, because that character is Imu. Imu is the secret ruler of the entire world government, but what makes Imu the most evil? Simple, Emu literally wipes out entire islands without a second thought. Like Emu literally annihilated Lulusia Kingdom just to test out the power of the Mother Flame powered by an ancient weapon. That's right, Emu murdered an entire country of innocent people just to test out this super weapon. If that's not the definition of pure evil, I don't know what is. But enough evil talk, let's instead talk about the most good character. And first, we of course gotta mention characters like Chopper, who's literally a doctor trying to cure every illness in the world, and Sanji, who would never lay a hand on a woman even if he would literally die, and who will feed anyone who's hungry even if they're his enemy. So these two are absolutely a shout. But when it comes to pure goodness, it's obviously Queen Otohime. Queen Otohime of Fishman Island was the definition of goodness, as while humans were regularly kidnapping her people and selling them into slavery, she never had hatred in her heart. Instead, she kept telling her people not to judge all humans by the actions of the cruel ones. And her dream was for all fishmen to one day live peacefully on the surface together with the humans. So she even once followed a celestial dragon, Mjosgard, to preach about her dream to all humans. But don't forget, this isn't the kind-hearted Mjosgard we later see at the Reverie. This was the awful, cruel celestial dragon who treated the fishmen like garbage. But despite that, she saved his life and even got injured protecting him. So yeah, Otohime has to get the record for the most good character. Moving on, let's talk about age. And the oldest human in the entire One Piece world is of course Dr. Kureha, as she's actually 141 years old. Yep, 141. Insane, right? But hey, don't call her old unless you want to get kicked in the face. But how is this even possible? She's just a regular human, right? Well, yeah. Oda actually confirmed that in the One Piece world, it's not that weird for normal humans to live up to 140 years. But since Kureha has even gone past that, Oda also said she's basically a superhuman. Not in the devil fruit way, just in the she's built different kind of way. So at 141 years old, Kureha is still as fiery as ever, still practicing medicine and still kicking people in the face that calls her old. But who's the oldest character in all of One Piece? You might be thinking it's Emu, right? After all, Emu is around 800 to 900 years old. But nope, someone's even older than that, and that someone is Zunisha. Yeah, that giant elephant that carries the island of Zou on its back is over 1,000 years old, and Zunisha has been walking the seas of the New World for literally 800 years, just carrying Zou as punishment for a crime it committed back in the past when Zunisha was an ally to Joy Boy. Of course, being 1,000 years old has taken a toll, as Zunisha's skin is way weaker now, vulnerable to focused cannon fire, and moves much slower than it did back in the day. Still, living for over 1,000 years is insane. On the topic of age, let's talk about who the youngest ever Yonko is. And yep, that's of course Monkey D. Luffy, at just 19 years old. At 19, Luffy has already got a 3 billion berry bounty. He's got 3 commanders with bounties over 1 billion each, and one of them is literally a former warlord. He's got a crew member who can read the poneglyphs, and oh yeah, let's not forget his grand fleet with over 5,000 men. He also took down Kaido, another emperor, in a 1 versus 1, and his crew took care of Kaido's top commanders as well. On top of all that, the Straw Hats now claim both Wano and Fishman Island as their territories. And we haven't even mentioned that he's got the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika fruit. And oh, his dad, that's Monkey D. Dragon, the world's worst criminal. So yeah, Luffy is just 19 years old, but he's absolutely earned that Yonko title. But who's the oldest ever Yonko? That record goes to none other than Whitebeard, who was 72 years old when he died. Even though he was old, sick, and way past his prime, he was still called the strongest man in the world. And we could all see why, as he took on all the Marines and the Admirals just to save his son, Ace. Sure, he died at the end of the war, but he went out exactly how he lived, like an absolute legend. Talking about the strongest man in the world, let's continue talking about some of the strongest characters in the series, and let's start with the strongest ever pirate. And that pirate was Joy Boy. Yeah, not only was Joy Boy the first ever pirate, he was also the absolute strongest, as this guy had insane haki, and on top of that he had Gear 5. Yep, just like Luffy, Joy Boy had the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika and had fully awakened it. Basically, he was running around with cartoon god powers and a conqueror's haki so powerful, it made the literal shadow ruler of the world, Emu, shit themselves just by sensing it. And if you can do that, then you absolutely deserve the title as the strongest ever pirate. But what about the strongest ever Marine? Well, the record holder for that title is obviously Monkey D. Garp. Garp is a living legend, known across the world as the hero of the Marines, and he went toe-to-toe with the former king of the pirates, Gol D. Roger himself, again and again, and it's said they nearly killed each other during their countless battles. As in his prime, Garp was an unstoppable monster. Even now, as an old man, he's still terrifyingly powerful, like the guy throws cannonballs with his bare hands. And remember his galaxy impact? That punch was insane! It shook the battlefield and flattened everything in its path. But the craziest part is that Garp literally said he was disappointed in that attack. Yeah, seriously. So if this is what he can do at this age, just imagine the kind of destruction he could have unleashed in his prime. Continuing with the strongest, let's talk about the strongest pirate crew to ever exist, the Rock's Pirates. Seriously, just listen to this insane lineup. At the top, you've got Rock's D. Zebek, the captain, and this guy was so powerful, it took both Roger and Garp teaming up just to take him down at God Valley. Then there's Shiki the Golden Lion, one of Roger's greatest rivals, and the first person to ever escape Impel Down. And this woman here, yeah, that's Charlotte Linlin, Big Mom. I'm serious. Although she looks way different, she was still terrifyingly strong. And Kaido, the strongest creature in the world, was also just a regular member on this crew. Then we've got Edward Newgate, aka Whitebeard, the man who would later be known as the strongest man in the world, who was also just another crew member. And remember that I told you that Buckingham Stussy, that old small lady, was also a member back in her prime. One more character I gotta mention here is Gloriosa. If you don't know who Gloriosa is, you might know Elder Neon, the former empress of Amazon Lily. So although she's old and fragile right now, she was literally the Boa Hancock before Boa Hancock. So yeah, this crew was stacked. And honestly, if Rocks hadn't been taken out at God Valley 38 years ago, who knows what this crew could have accomplished. Now, who's the strongest hockey user? Is it Shanks? I mean, he is literally known for his terrifyingly powerful hockey. Like he scared a literal admiral to death at Wano even though he was miles away. That's how insane his hockey is. But believe it or not, there's actually one character whose hockey is even crazier, and that character is Joy Boy. Back in his time, Joy Boy was one of the few people in the world who had Conqueror's hockey. And not just that, but Dory and Brogy later even straight up said that Joy Boy's hockey was stronger than Shanks. He was such a skilled hockey user that he could literally even tie his advanced Conqueror's hockey into a knot, which preserved his hockey for centuries. And when that knot finally came undone at Egghead Island by Emmet, it released such a massive burst of hockey that it knocked out all Marines near Egghead Island, including the Vice Admirals. What's even crazier than that is that it cancelled out the 5 Elders' spooky transformations and actually sent 3 of them back to Marie-Joie. And speaking of Marie-Joie, even Emu felt Joy Boy's hockey from all the way there. So, as powerful as Shanks is, Joy Boy's hockey is in a league of its own. Someone else who holds the record of the strongest, but this time, the strongest swordsman is, of course, Dracule Mihawk. Mihawk is world famous for a reason, as he earned the title of the strongest swordsman thanks to his unmatched skill with a blade, especially his legendary supreme grade sword Yoru, the Black Blade. However, we still haven't seen Mihawk go all out yet, but when we finally do, it's going to be insane. And oh, if someone dares to challenge him for his title, he'll only draw Yoru if they've earned his respect, or if they're powerful enough to actually threaten him. Otherwise, he just uses his tiny dagger Kogatana. Yeah, the one he used to humiliate Zoro in their duel. But I really don't think Kogatana would be enough to best Zoro right now. Some other records that need to be mentioned are Worst Sense of Direction. And yeah, you already know who this record belongs to. It's, of course, Zoro. Like we've seen him get completely lost way too many times to even count at this point. Next record, Most Children, and this is another obvious one, it's Big Mom. No competition. She's literally got 85 kids. That's 39 daughters and 46 sons, with 43 husbands. Yeah, that's just insane. Now for Saddest Death. Some might say it's the Going Merry, and yeah, watching the Merry burn and sink after saving the crew at Ennis Lobby hurt. But let's be honest, Ace takes the record here. Like we all thought he was gonna make it as they were literally running away. But then Aka Inu turned him into a donut, and this still brings tears to my eyes. As for bounties, the pirate with the highest bounty ever is none other than the Pirate King himself, Gol D. Roger, with a massive 5,564,800,000 berry bounty. And thanks to the Cross Guild for putting bounties on Marines, the highest Marine bounty belongs to Aka Inu at 5 billion berries. And last but not least, let's talk about chest sizes. Yeah, we do have to talk about this because Oda himself literally confirmed this stuff, okay? So anyway, the woman with the biggest confirmed chest size is Boa Hancock at 111 centimeters. And for the men, it's none other than Zoro with a 110 centimeter chest. What is your favorite One Piece record, and was there a record I forgot to mention? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and watch this video next.